Hello again. A little bit later, we're already 5 days into July, but want to be able to give you an update on where we are with our renovation at this point. And so our renovation has been making steady progress during the last couple of weeks. We've made some decisions on the bids that we have received with regard to the heating and the electrical. Victory out of Bellingham has been chosen to be able to do the heating and the mechanicals for our heating and air conditioning, and Favuli Electric off of Plantation Street in Worcester will be doing our electrical services as well. We're finishing up the details with regard to those contracts and the specifications for the work that's going to be done so that we can be able to start on that. We're hoping to have a kickoff meeting on July 15th, at which point then we'll be able to give you a timeline and a calendar as to when they will begin to start to do the work and when we may need to leave church between Monday and Friday for daily mass so that they can do the work, and then we'll return every weekend for our weekend services and special events like baptisms and weddings and other things. Just a reminder that the last time I showed you there were trees in the hallway between the two buildings. Those trees have obviously been removed. We have other pictures on our website, but this is to give you a look of how the area between the two buildings looks for now. It looks quite unusual, bare. We intend to be able to recreate the meditation garden, put in some new plantings, and relocate some of the flowers that were moved. The flowers were moved before the trees were removed so that they would not be lost, and they can eventually also be brought in. Okay. In the upper church, the wainscoting that had been placed over the original wainscoting has been removed during this week. The railing at the top of that was all mahogany, and then there was a paneling underneath that supposedly had some type of a mahogany base to it as well. And so as we remove the paneling, the original wainscoting of the church is revealed. And so it's interesting, you see in this slide the shadow of the former pews. Again, just a little history. Some of our parishioners can remember that up until 1980, when you came to Mass, you had to step up and into the pews in order to be seated. And so the line at the bottom is not from a railing at the bottom. It actually is where the floor was that held the pews, because otherwise the pews would be very high. And so the pews, as you can see by this photo, there was a wooden support that was attached directly to the wainscoting, and then the back of the pews was inserted into the wainscoting. You see above the triangular lighter shaded wood, you can see that there is a diagonal behind that. In this particular slide, you can see above that where there's you can see actually some of what's inside as part of the interior of the wall. This particular slide also shows the place where the radiator was, and if you notice, this is scorched in a way that the other isn't. Some of it was scorched because of the radiators, but this particular location was where the fire smoldered in 1980. They were doing some work on the outside windows of the church, placing in the plate glass that is there now to protect the windows from the weather, as well as to contain the heat inside, and then to be able to protect it from vandalism. And the welding that they did caught fire inside the building, and it smoldered until after the men had left for the day. And so there were three young boys playing in the neighborhood who discovered the fire at 4:30 and ran to Mrs. Abusio on Granite Street, and she was the one that called the fire department, and they came to put the fire out. They had to open up the wall at that point, but you see some of the original wood is still charred and bears the telltale signs of that fire. The wood that we've removed, what we're going to look to do is consider perhaps installing that in a part of the vestibule. The ceiling in the vestibule, in the center section in particular, is got a great many cracks, and it looks like it's the weight of that has come loose, and that there's a concern that it might be able to fall. we don't expect that it's going to fall in the immediate time, but it could fall if we've got work going on and people are moving things and there's vibrations, hammering, other things going on in the church. The concern would be that the plaster could give way and collapse. So we're looking to remove that in the next couple of weeks, take the lights out, put in work lights, because we have new lighting to go in that would be recessed lighting, so that you can be able to read things, to write your name on different things that we have people do in the vestibule. And so to assist in that, we're looking to be able to take down the ceiling, put in new lighting, and make all of that part of what we're looking at with regard to reusing some of the materials from the church. So we are what our church looks like now. Just a reminder, actually it doesn't look like this, because if you look closely to the sides now, the pews are gone, the wainscoting is gone, so it does look different than it does in this particular picture. And so we're making progress. And then of course, I've left on here the slides for the proposal from Canning. This is what they would like to propose that we put on the rear wall of the sanctuary, decorating around the patronal window and the reredos of the former high altar, to bring in some of the coloring and the architectural details of the rest of the church. And then lastly is this slide that shows the side bay windows of the church and what we would like to be able to create as an image in the painting and the stenciling that we would do. So work is progressing, not a whole lot to show this week, but in the next couple of weeks, we hope to be able to have contracts signed, the bids finalized, and be able to start the work. And once we get those details, we'll be able to let you know when we can expect for things to start and then for things to finish, and when we can be able to begin to see our church coming back to a new look, with the pews being reinstalled and other things taking shape as we go forward. So thank you for your support. We continue to rely on your generosity. People are being very faithful with their pledges. Other people are stepping up to make donations as well. And that's really helpful to us because we need your assistance. This is a very expensive part of the project. It's going to take all of the funds that we have already collected, because it's a very, very expensive work. But it will be work that will last another 50 to 100 years in our church. And so it's a wise investment for generations to come that will make the church comfortable as well as attractive, but also make it cost efficient for us and for the generations that follow us to be able to maintain comfort at a reasonable price. Thank you again, and God bless.